Hi, I'm Barry Banther. Special thanks to my friend and colleague Ron Karr for inviting me to be part of your meeting today. I've long been impressed with his approach to CRO, being the Chief Revenue Officer, because that really is the key to success in a company. It doesn't belong just to the sales team or the marketing team or the production team, but as the leader of your business, it's your responsibility. In over 2 decades of working with clients, here's what I've discovered. That the best way to be able to develop a pipeline or to forecast what your sales are going to be is to be intentionally engaged in building that. But the million-dollar question, obviously, is how do you do that? It's been my experience that it's done by becoming obsessed with your customers. I've found that with my clients, oftentimes there's 10, 15, sometimes as much as 20% of new business within their current customers that they're not taking advantage of, or even more among prospects that they've not been able to close that business. But the single requirement is that you become obsessed with your customers. Why are they buying your product? What problem is your product solving? What's the competitive advantage of your product over someone else's product? What will happen if they choose you rather than choosing someone else? And those are the kind of questions at your level of owning or operating a business you need to be able to answer. Last year, McKinsey and Company re-released the results of their study, the most exhaustive study I'm aware of, on why do business-to-business sales ventures fail. When a salesperson is unable to get the order, what happened? Well, they found basically there are 4 things that keep business-to-business sales from succeeding. Here's the first one. The salesperson didn't really understand their own products and processes. They didn't know enough about their own business. That's one of the key components of equipping a team to sell. You know, there are 3 parts of forecasting. There's advertising, there's marketing, and there's selling. And sometimes we get those confused. They're not the same thing. They're distinctly different. And one of the things the McKinsey study found was that your team, whether they're selling out to your customers or taking calls from your prospects on the phone, they've got to really know all of your products and all of your processes. How do you go about doing what you do? That's one of the first requirements to growing your business. Now, the second thing the McKinsey study found was this. The reason the sale from business to business failed was because the salesperson didn't understand the customer's products or application of your product or their processes. Now, this one gets tricky today because you may have a lot of prospects you're trying to sell to. But if you walk into their office or if you make a call on them and your whole purpose is to try to discover how they do business, discover how you might be able to help them, they don't have time for you. In fact, one of the concepts that came out of the McKinsey study was that they don't want salespeople calling on them. You know that in your own business. You don't have time for that. So a second reason they fail and something to work on to build your pipeline is, do your salespeople, or even if it's your marketing team that's making the sales call, do they really fully understand how your product or process is going to be applied in that business? And what is their process of making that purchase? What's the timeline they use in taking whatever you're going to provide to them and make it part of their own effort? Now, there's a third thing they found that is a reason why B2B sales efforts fail, and that is that the salesperson didn't understand their competitors' products and processes. Think with me for a moment. Who's your chief competitor in any particular market? Do you understand their products? Do you understand their process? Do you understand the value advantage they're trying to claim as they go to market? If you don't, then you're requiring your customer or your prospect to do that work for you. You may make a marvelous presentation of how your product's one of a kind or your process will solve their problem. But if you're not able to compare that to the competitors, then that's forcing them to do that work. And it's also putting you in a position that you're letting the competitor define that value advantage. So just look at these first 3 things. Do you really know your products and processes? Do you really know your customer's application of your product or use of your product and their processes for making that happen? And thirdly, do you know your competitors' products? Do you know their processes? Just delving into those 3 first things is obsessive. And it's that obsession that will result in you uncovering opportunities to meet needs that fill up that pipeline. And so it's no surprise that the 4th thing they found in the McKinsey study was this, that the salesperson was unable to clearly articulate a value advantage of their product or process over a competitor's. Now, if you're obsessed with a customer, you're paying attention to these 4 things, then regardless of what's happening in the market, you've got a chance to grow your business 10, 15, perhaps even 20%. but it requires you being able to take that kind of approach. It's been my experience that you can't leave this up to the marketing team. You can't leave this up to your sales manager. As a key influencer, as an owner or an executive in your company, you've got to take the lead. In fact, I would argue that it's important for you to know those products and processes of your own company, of the customers you're trying to sell to, and even of your competitors, so that you can begin to set an example with the team that's responsible for building your business that this is how we do it. You see, I'm convinced that no one woke up this morning with an itch to buy whatever it is you're selling. But they did go to work this morning with a problem that needs to be solved. It's been my work over many years to help companies stop selling, start serving. Start serving that customer in a way that you understand their problems, sometimes even better than they do, and that you're able to bring a product or process to bear that will solve that problem. Now, there's an amazing thing that happens. When you get obsessed with the customer, when you start looking at all these very specific details that are necessary, then the forecast becomes clearer. Because now, because of your obsession with this one customer and the problem you're going to solve for them, you suddenly see another customer in the pipeline. You see someone else in the market that can benefit from that. So how do you get to the place where you can see the horizon and you can forecast your business? By getting obsessed and very good with the customers you currently have. When you're able to do that, then the future becomes clear. I've shared with Ron some questions that I want to encourage you to take some time together to answer these questions. Go ahead and be a coach to each other as you talk about what is it you really know about your competition? What do you really know about your chief customers or maybe some of those prospects that you're trying to land? Is it the worst of times or is it the best of times? Well, the answer to that is really up to you. It's your time. You know, in that classic work by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, the next line, which we don't often hear, says, "It was an age of great foolishness, it was an age of great wisdom." Foolishness today says, I'm just going to advertise and let the market come to me. Foolishness today says, look, we just got to get out there and sell. We got to call on more people. Wisdom says, I'm going to really understand my business, what it is I do and how I do it. Wisdom says, I'm going to know my customers' products, how they're going to apply what I do, their processes, so they see me as a partner. Wisdom says, I'm going to know my competitors' products and processes so well that I can clearly articulate, here's the value advantage for doing business with me. And as a result of that, wisdom is going to be able to say to that customer, here's the value I bring, and then price doesn't become nearly as important, does it? I wish you all the best as you have this discussion, and I look forward to the opportunity perhaps sometime in the future being with you in person. Thank you, Ron, for this opportunity, and I'm really hoping that your forecast today gets filled with a lot of prospects and customers you can grow your business with.